When I saw a piece of technology called Connect, it was called Natal, I was inspired and I thought for a moment maybe it's possible to address that one problem of storytelling. To create a character which seemed alive, which noticed me, that could look me in the eyes and feel real, and sculpt a story about our relationship. And so, a year ago, I showed this off at a computer show called E3. And this was a piece of technology. It was someone called Claire interacting with this boy. And there was a huge row online about, hey, this can't be real. And so I waited till now to have an actual demo of the real tech. Now, this tech incorporates three big elements. The first is a Connect camera, which will be out in November. Some incredible AI that was hidden in the dusty vaults, collecting dust in Microsoft, plus our quite crude attempts at AI at a company called Lionhead, mixing all those things together just to get to this one simple idea, to create a real living being in a computer. Now, I'll be honest with you and say that most of it is just a trick, but it's a trick that actually works. So why don't we go over and have a look at the demo now. This is Dimitri. Dimitri, just waggle your arm around. Now you notice he's sitting, there are no controllers, no keyboards or mice or joysticks or joypads. He is just going to use his hand, his body, and his voice, just like humans interact with their hands, body, and voice. So let's move forward. You're going to meet Milo for the first time. We had to give him a problem, because when we first created Milo, we realized that he came across a little bit of a brat, to be honest with you. He was quite know-it-all, and he wanted to kind of make you laugh. So the problem we introduced to him was this. He's just moved house. He's moved from London to New England over in America. His parents are too busy to listen to his problems, and that's when he starts almost conjuring you up. So here he is, walking through the grass, and you're able to interact with his world. The cool thing is, what we're doing is we're changing the mind of Milo constantly. That means no two people's Milos can be the same. You're actually sculpting a human being here. So, he's discovering the garden. You're helping him discover the garden by just pointing out these snails. Very simple at the start. By the way, if you are a boy, it's snails. If you're a girl, it's butterflies. Because what we found was that girls hate snails. So remember, this is the first time you've met him. We really want to draw you in and make you more curious. His face, by the way, is fully AI-driven. We have complete control over his blush responses, the diameter of his nostrils to denote stress. We actually do something called body matching. If you're leaning forward, he will slightly change the neuro-linguistic nature of his face. Because we went out with this strong idea, how can we make you believe that something is real? Now, we've used the hand. The other thing to use is your body. Why not just, instead of pushing left and right with a mouse or with a joypad, why not use your body just to lean on the chair? Again, relaxed. You can lean back, but the camera will change its perspective depending on which way you're looking. So Dimitri's now going to use, he's used his hand, he's used his body. He's now going to use the other thing which is essential, and that's his voice. The thing about voice is our experience with voice recognition is pretty awful, isn't it? It never works. You order an airline ticket, you end up in Timbuktu.
That's the biggest one.
Well, so we've tackled that problem, and we've come up with a solution, which we'll see in a second.
I could just squish it.
What are you going to do, Louise?
Squashing a snail may not seem important, but remember, even this choice will affect how Milo develops. Do you want Milo to squash it? When you see the microphone, say yes
Squash.
or no to decide.
Go on, Milo, squash it.
No, that's the right thing to do. Now look at his response. He said, go on, Milo, squash it.
Years later,
What we're using there is
Milo
we're
would look back
using
and say,
something, a piece of technology called Tell Me. It's a company that Microsoft acquired some years ago. We've got a database of words which we recognize. We pick those words out. We also reference that with his the tonation database that we build up of Dimitri's voice or the user's voice. Now we need to have a bit more engagement. And again, what we can do is we can look at the body. And we'll do that in a second.
Deep it is. Deep. I know.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is teach Milo to skim stones. We're actually teaching him. It's very, very interesting how that men, more than women, tend to be more competitive here.
Why don't you collect
They tend to...
stones?
They're fine with teaching Milo for the first few throws, but then they want to beat Milo. Where women, they're more nurturing about this.
To skim
Okay,
stones,
this
I'm
is
going to
skimming
need you to
stones.
stand
How
up.
do you skim
Now
stones?
try skimming some stones.
You stand up and you skim the stone. It's that simple. Just recognizing your body, recognizing the body's motions, the tech, understanding that you've gone from sitting down to standing up. Again, all of this is done in the way us humans do things, and that's crucially important
Yes.
if we want Milo to
Skim
appear
the stone.
real.
See if you can inspire him to do any better. Try hitting the boat.
So close.
That's Dimitri's most competitive. He's now beaten an 11-year-old child. Well done.
Okay.
So Milo's been called back in by his parents, giving us time to be alone and to help him out. Basically, he was the bit that we missed at the start. His parents had asked him to clean up his room. We're going to help him with this now. But this is going to be an introduction, and this is all about the deep psychology that we're trying to use. We're trying to introduce you to what I believe is the most wonderful part.
Why don't you sit
You
down
being
for a
able to
while?
talk and in your natural voice to Milo. Now, to do that, we needed the setup, like a magician's trick.
It's time to help
And
Milo
what we
clean
did
his room.
was we needed to give Milo this big
By
problem.
sweeping over
So
an
as
untidy area with a bucket,
as
you can
Dimitri
put all of the objects
starts
back where
tying
they
up,
should.
you can overhear a conversation that Milo's having with his parents.
Oh, you've got gravy all over the floor. I didn't mean to. Carpet's brand and it's brand new.
So he's just spilt a plate of sausages on the floor on the brand new carpet. We've all done it as parents, we've all done it as children. Now's a chance for Dimitri to kind of reassure and calm Milo down. It's all been too much for him. He's just moved house, he's got no friends. Now is the time we open that portal and allow you to talk to Milo.
Why don't you try saying something encouraging to cheer Milo up?
Come on, Milo, you know what parents are like. They're always getting stressed.
What do they want to come here for anyway? We don't know anyone.
Well, you've got a new school to go to. You're going to meet loads of cool new friends.
I just really miss my old house, that's all.
Well, this is a pretty awesome house, Milo. You've got a cool garden to play in and a pond.
It was good skimming stones. This looks nice. cleaned up my room.
I'll tell you next.
Thanks.
So after three-quarters
I've
of an
got all my
hour,
toys
he's
in
ready.
here.
He recognizes you. And I promise you, if you're sitting in front of this screen, that is a truly
There you
wonderful
are.
moment. And we're ready now to tell a story about his child and his life, and it goes on, and he has, you know, many adventures. Some of those adventures are a little bit darker, on the darker side. Some of those adventures are wonderfully encouraging. He's got to go to school. The cool thing is that we're doing as well, as you interact with him, you're able to put things into his world. He recognizes objects. His mind is based in the cloud. That means Milo's mind, as millions of people use it, will get smarter and cleverer. He'll recognize more objects and thus understand more words. But for me, this is a wonderful opportunity where technology at last can be connected with, where I am no longer restrained by the thing that I hold in my hand as far as a computer game is concerned, or by the blandness of not being noticed if you're watching a film or a book. And I love those revolutions, and I love the future that Milo brings. Thank you very much indeed.
The precision of a watch is a function of its movement. For Rolex and for Hans Wilsdorf, to guarantee the precision of a timepiece, the pressing question was how to protect the movement itself from the elements, not only water, but also tiny particles of dust. In 1926, a major step was taken with the creation of the world's first waterproof and dustproof wristwatch. The Rolex Oyster was born. Over the years, subtle changes in the design continue to improve the Oyster, adding more comfort while keeping the style contemporary. And, along with style, more functions have been added. A Rolex wristwatch was the first to show the date through a small aperture on the face. It was also the first wristwatch to spell out the day of the week in full. In the early 1950s, Rolex developed professional watches whose functions went far beyond telling the time. Launched in 1953, the Submariner was the first Rolex watch guaranteed waterproof to a depth of 330 feet. Already on an incredible journey of innovation and design, Rolex decided to push the boundaries even further. In 1960, the Bathyscaphe Trieste and Rolex made history. The submersible successfully dived to 35,800 feet below the surface of the ocean. A Rolex Deep Sea Special was strapped to the outside. The development of undersea exploration led to the launching in 1967 of the Sea Dweller 2000, waterproof to a depth of 2,000 feet. In 2008, the Submariner in gold is redesigned, and the case features a new unidirectional rotatable bezel with a Cerachrom disc. Fitted with the patented Rolex ringlock system, the Rolex Deep Sea safely descends to 12,800 feet. Rolex has incorporated countless hours and more than a century of experience, years of research, innovation, and development into every one of its models. And the benefits arising from this work, including waterproofness, precision, and durability, are the result of Rolex's continuous pursuit of perfection. From the most elegant and prestigious models to the professional timepieces, all are exquisitely crafted. Piece by piece, we design and manufacture every single watch. And the story continues.